type of feeling when I stand and look at Orion's belt and realize that that's exactly what somebody would have saw 50,000 years ago standing where I'm standing now. That's
back and forth to that little tiny dot in the middle of the ocean. It just lets you know, I mean, when we think that, you know, people weren't traveling in ancient times, people were traveling. And Herodotus, I mean, they're all really referencing some form of this Atlantean civilization, in my opinion. I don't think they would just sit there and make this stuff up thousands of years ago.
Yeah, he's the guy that played with himself when Alexander the Great walked by and stuff.
Right.
He was,
Right.
Talk about flirting with disaster.
What we forgot wasn't meant to sleep. Before history.
Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Forbidden Knowledge Podcast. Today I have a very, very special guest, Dan Richards. He's an amazing human being. I've met him several times. I think once in North Carolina at Cosmic Summit, then again at the Quest for Ancient Civilizations. I sat through some of his work and his lectures. The man is a wealth of knowledge. We were on a panel discussion together as well. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. I really appreciate the invitation, Billy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, man. I think I'm kind of introducing you to my subscribers now and people that have been following my accounts. So if you could just give yourself a little bit of background, like how did you get into this? And, what is it about ancient civilizations and debunking the past, which I love your subtitle. What is it that really gets you excited about this topic?
Well, thanks. Well, when I was young, I was raised in a very, very Christian home, and I was introduced to Egypt as something besides the bad guys to Moses. When I was in fourth grade, when we had an art teacher that rewarded us with the Egypt Day, and I became really fascinated with the artwork and the religion, and this again, I was raised with them being these antagonists. So I became fascinated with them then, and I started buying literature when I could and reading what I could. And then by the time Fingerprints of the Gods came out, I'd already read The Sign of the Seal, and I had Fingerprints pre-ordered. And so I've been in it for a hot minute.
Yeah.
And I got custody of my sons, and fast forward to about 10 years ago, I got custody of my son. And so I just quit dealing with anything really besides taking care of him. And he got to be a teenager, and he's like, okay, Dad, go helicopter somewhere else. And so I started watching. I turned on Netflix and saw Graham Hancock had done Ancient Apocalypse, and I was like, oh, yeah. So I watched that, and then I looked at the debunkers online because I knew the culture had changed. And I saw Milo Rossi and Stefan Milo, and both of them had it was very clear they didn't know Graham's position or his body of work. They were watching and looking for gotchas, and it was very disingenuous. And when I started making responses, it was pretty clear pretty fast that nobody else was really taking the time to shoot back at the skeptics.
Right.
So anyway, fast forward a few years, and here we are.
Nice, man. Beautiful. Great journey. And I'm glad that you took this particular field, man, because the way that you articulate, the way you explain it, the way you break it down, it's like you really make it simple for the average person to not only understand it, but you make people want to ask more questions, which is the key behind all this, getting people to ask questions. And I think that you do a great job doing that, man.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's, clearly, you've been doing this longer than me, and so that's some high praise. I appreciate that. But I definitely think that you definitely want, if you're doing it right, you get somebody to, when they leave your stuff, they should be digging themselves, right?
Exactly. We just want to create researchers, right? So that's what it's really all about. It's not that we're the new preachers. We want people to take this information, go look it up for themselves, and maybe they'll discover things that we didn't even see, which is really amazing. Right? That's
absolutely right. And even if you disagree with almost everything somebody says, you can still find inspiration in them and stuff as long as you take the time to do so. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I saw it recently. You were just on the Joe Rogan Experience, man. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. It was almost a year ago now, actually. But I've been on there twice. I was on once with Jimmy Corsetti, and then on about 2 months later by myself. It's awesome. I mean, Joe was he's very much an everyman. He's very interested in this stuff, and he's also despite having big fat pockets of cash, he's very blue collary in the way he carries himself and his demeanor and the way he thinks. And so yeah, he spoke my language, right? So we ended up, I had a really good time just talking to him. And I got to go to the Kill Tony show the second time afterwards, which that's hilarious too.
Yeah. Nice. That's amazing. Yeah. I did Joe Rogan about maybe a year and a half ago now. About a year and a half. And it was a great experience. I mean, guy was very just cool, laid back. Of course, he's well read and well studied and researched because he can actually have a conversation with just about almost anybody.
Yeah.
Which is why, that's why he's Joe Rogan, right? I mean, he blew up because he really has that capability of kind of jumping from different field to different genre with ease. And it makes him very relatable. And he's also not afraid to speak his mind and go against the mainstream, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what I've seen so far is a lot of this alternative history, anthropology, archaeoastronomy, astroanthropology, and all these different topics, all these different types of genres within the new science are really starting to go mainstream. What do you think it is that's starting to get mainstream to take a look at what we've been talking about for so long?
I think some of it is the fact that it's interesting, right? If you watch, the vast majority of archaeologists, if you talk to them and stuff, you'll see that they got interested with Indiana Jones type of stuff, with Atlantis, with the Lost Ark of the Covenant, with things that you would consider fringe archaeology. But they got into it off of that stuff, and it's clearly what sells. So when something can kind of bridge the gap, and it's like archaeoastronomy is a great example where you do have almost a spirit. At least myself, I have a very spiritual type of feeling when I stand and look at Orion's belt and realize that that's exactly what somebody would have saw 50,000 years ago standing where I'm standing now. That's we'd speak different languages, we eat different foods, we probably even have different ideas about good and bad, but that we've touched as close as so that to me, it's I think that's like Carl Sagan kind of laid the groundwork for it when he said that we're star stuff looking at stars. It takes science and makes it spirit-y. It's not spiritual, but it's touching base on that.
Yeah, no, it really is powerful. I mean, you think about how long it just took for the photons from the stars in Orion's belt to just touch your retina. I mean, but in that moment, you really are directly connected. Now, I know everything, through metaphysics and quantum theory is connected, but at that moment, you really are directly connected when you are looking up at the sky and you're looking at the stars and these constellations and you can see them. It means that you're directly connected to them, which is just really amazing. And to know that these things have been around for millions of years and sometimes billions of years, and now we have gotten to the point where we can look back at those same stars that really help to create the heavier elements that are in our bodies, So it's like he says. And, you touched on something from Graham Hancock, which was, fingerprints of the gods, and where he kind of really was alluding to the fact that human beings are, mankind is a species with amnesia, right? Yes. And so we've kind of really forgotten who we are, where we came from, and everything else. And so that really, it leads to the fact that we are now just we are researching, but it seems almost as if we're beginning to remember. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's something that we seem to see it with the ancients, for sure, that there was a underlying theme of there was a civilization before us that was better than us and they ran amok. This was very popular idea in the old world for sure. And we see, tantalizing hints of it in the New World, although to play devil's advocate, it is tough to trust a lot of what we got from the New World because the Spaniards destroyed so much of it, and then they mingled Catholicism in with the you can assume that they did anyway. I mean, that's the way that they played everywhere else. So but in the Old World, for sure, the idea was so powerful that you see it everywhere. It was almost like a given, like the ancients knew more than we do now. And I think that if you look at it, there's little hints of it, like Easter Island, for example, is a great place because we see this idea of the navel of the world, the axis mundi, right? We see this idea all over the Old World, but we also see it in the New World, and we see it in Easter Island, but it's in the far-flung corner of the Polynesian world. There, Easter Island isn't in the center of the Polynesian world, which every other axis mundi on the planet is centered in that culture. So, in my opinion, that, for example, is a good hint that there was more to Easter Island and more to that part of the world than meets the eye thousands of years ago.
Oh, yeah. Facts. Absolutely. I mean, the fact that the Rapa Nui tribe was able to even discover that island or end up on that island or travel back and forth to that little tiny dot in the middle of the ocean, it just lets you know. I mean, when we think that, people weren't traveling in ancient times, people were traveling. Somehow they had the capability, right? Because how do you navigate the ocean just by starlight and make it back to that island over and over again? Just amazing. And you can see, like, the Moai heads, they're really full bodies, right? Yeah. They're mostly buried in mud, and you can kind of see the head sticking up. And it seems as if there was some type of a global catastrophe or geological event that washed all that ocean over the island itself.
Yeah, definitely.
You've been able to study any theories on it?
To a degree. When I was on the Limitless podcast with Matt Bell, I know you know Matt. He pointed out that when the sea levels were lower, that you could basically island hop from South America all the way over to Southeast Asia. And so that would explain a lot about why Rapa Nui was, potentially a world naval. Now, what you were saying about people using boats, I mean, clearly, the Neanderthal are spread all over Indonesia, and were spread all over Indonesia, I should say. And this happened a long time ago, and it was all boats. Or when it was all islands, excuse me. So they had to have went over, floated on logs, or made a boat or something. And archaeologists and anthropologists have no problem accepting that. But then you move it forward to humans, and all of a sudden, and thousands of years closer in time, all of a sudden there's a problem. Oh, I don't see how they could have done it.
Yeah.
The incredulity is baffling, but that part almost makes me conspiratorial. It's like they want to fight this narrative no matter what. Atlantis can't be no matter what, period.
Yeah, no matter what. They just don't want it to happen. They just don't want it to exist.
That's right.
Which is just bizarre. It's the agenda behind it. I spent the last 2 decades trying to figure out just the full concept of what the why is. And I can come up with some, different conspiratorial ideas and concepts. But, you never truly know until the person behind the veil really says this is specifically why. But it's really interesting. And this Atlantean civilization, to me, appeared to potentially be global, not just the Ring City, just because I see so many duplicates of the different types of architectural structures all around the world. And so I kind of leaning towards the idea that it could have been a global civilization, not just that Ring City,
Oh, yeah. I would completely agree with you there. Billy, like, look at the civilization we live in now. And imagine if 10,000 years from now, people were looking back and they wouldn't be separating America from Canada, from Mexico, from China. They would be looking at it and look what we do with the Clovis people or with the Aurignacian people. It's just like this big fat catch-all that goes through thousands of years because they use the same weaponry. It's like they would look back on us and see basically the electronics people, and that would be one big fat culture. So I think that we look back, and that they, certainly by the time of Plato, that they would look back and it was, it was completely bastardized. If you look at the way the cargo cults are treated after World War II, I know me and you've talked about that before, but for your viewers, the cargo cults are down in Southeast Asia, out in the islands, out in the Pacific. The American soldiers interacted with them during World War II, and then we left for about 20 years. And when we came back, they had a completely weird religion based on us bringing them knives and stuff, and they were emulating runways and whatnot. On Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, those kids with the bamboo record player and shit. That's all based on that.
Yeah, you're right. I saw even an old documentary where they had USA tattooed on their chest. And I'm like, wow, they're just waiting for more cans of Spam to come in those cargo units. That's just wild, man.
Could you imagine marching as part of your prayer thing? That's just like, wow.
Yeah, they got the fake runway. They stare up at the sky all day, waiting for the sky gods to return.
Yep.
I personally believe that.
I'm sorry.
I personally believe that the whole world is a giant cargo cult. That's just my personal opinion, though.
Yeah, no, that's and that's, I know you're more of a believer in the Anunnaki than I am, and that's one of the things that a lot of people. My barometer isn't so much what somebody believes. My barometer is as long as they're honest about it. It's like if I always compare it to us looking like if I'm over hanging out at your house and I've lost my car keys. And I start asking where my car keys are. If you're honestly helping me, you can be wrong all day long. But the third time you tell me they're under your couch when we both know they're not, now I'm going to get pissed off, right? So to me, it's the matter of fact, as many angles as we can get on a problem, the better, right?
Right. Yeah, there's all different theories. And what I like about, you and many of the people that I've met at these last few conferences is that we all have slightly different opposing views on the same topics. The underlying theme is the same. The underlying understanding is the same, but there are certain intricacies that we all have with regard to our own theories or understanding or perspective or perceptions. But every one of us gets along fine. We sat on that panel together in Sedona, and there were like 6 of us, and all 6 of us had 6 different points of view, right?
That's right.
And that's what really being a researcher is all about, being a scientist is all about, being passionate about what you're into. It's not about creating dogma. It's not about turning this thing or this field into a particular type of religion. It's about being open and listening. And if you don't agree, it's still okay. But like you said, the inspiration, like I heard some things that a lot of y'all were saying that gave me new inspiration to other areas that I've been digging into. And that's what opens us up and opens our mind and allows us to be able to create new ideas, new understandings, new theories, and even find new discoveries,
That you hit the nail on the head. Yeah. And that's one of the strengths that we have, as opposed to, I don't even want to say mainstream academia. It's really just the people that have arrayed themselves against the Atlantis hunters for whatever reason. They have their solidarity in their ideology has made them stagnant. They're really intellectually, like, they're opposed to the idea of something being interpreted as a star chart, and it's like, when I just recently did a video, the Aurignacian culture, which was Stone Age people over in Europe, there's artifacts that were found. And this dude in the 70s, Alexander Marshak, he was counting the dots and coming up with lunar calendars based on nothing but the number of dots. And there were some skeptics, but most people were like, okay, man, this is interesting. We'll give him the time of day. It was so much less intricate and robust than what Dr. Martin Sweatman did with Göbekli Tepe's Pillar 43. But because Pillar 43, that whole thing is aligned with Graham Hancock, these guys just come at it, and it's, That's so unscientific that it for all practical purposes, it's indistinguishable than a religious ideology. It's like if you're just going to knee jerk, you're not sciencing at all.
Yeah, you're going based off of pure emotional response and trigger versus actual real scientific rigor and research and exploration.
And sorry, go ahead.
You're right. No, go ahead.
Oh, and to make that even worse, you claim to be representing science. So it's like you're defiling it on top of it. It's like the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. It's like you ain't democratic. What the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. I just talking to somebody about that last week. I said, what kind of name is this? Yeah, that's crazy. But you hit it on the head. That's exactly right. And back kind of into what we're talking about. One of the things that I noticed around the world is that these civilizations they just seem to pop up almost overnight. Now I know that we right now, our current version of human beings, we've gone from a horse, buggy, and carriage 100 years ago to putting remote control cars on Mars, and we have Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 going out into intergalactic space. And that was only in 100 years.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is that goes, 10, 15, 20, 100,000 years, and then all of a sudden, snap, here comes a civilization?
I don't subscribe to that model myself.
Okay.
I don't think.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. I'm really curious.
I think that we've built up and we would get so far and then we would get smoked and knocked down. No, I think we're probably further than we ever have been. But if you look at like metallurgy and stuff, they really every generation they got a little better. If you when we are able to read records or see the records very clear, the thing is it's harder to record knowledge, harder to pass knowledge around, and when we got knocked back, like the Middle Ages, for example, when Rome fell. We still don't know what happened then for real, and that was relatively recently. So I think those kinds of moments, like that, the picture of I forget the name, the snake eating its own tail.
The Yuga cycle.
Thank you. It's a very good, picture of humanity as far as technology and not just technology even, but like in our social, think about the Dark Ages as far as society went, like civil rights and just human rights in general, instantly reverted, right? And overnight, people just got shitty.
Right. So you more subscribe to that cyclical cycle of the rise and fall of civilizations, like going through the Kali Yuga, through the Yuga cycle, or known as the Great Year, where we have the precession of the equinoxes, about 27,000 years. And we have this gradual progress to where we rise, and then some kind of type of catastrophe, and maybe even human unfortunate intervention combined create a perfect storm. We go down again, and then we have to rebuild and start fresh. By the third, fourth generation, knowledge is lost, and everyone's kind of learning to get everything back.
Yeah,
right.
I very much. I think probably the biggest area that I differentiate, that I'm different from a lot of people in our community, is that I'm not as into ancient high technology. I think that a lot of the times there was nothing more than them figuring out something that, some metallurgy or something, like some mathematics, some astronomy. But at the end of the day, I think it's almost, if you look at the myths and stuff in humanity, it's almost like clear as day that we've over and over and over again have bumped into, like we grew, we learned something. Look at that little bracelet thing that they found that Denisovan made that 23,000 years ago or whatever. It's like that. Yeah. That tech was lost for a while, as far as the record shows. The Antikythera mechanism, that tech was lost for a while. We still argue about how the pyramids were made today. There's so many of these things that were lost. So
gotcha. Yeah, I can understand. And I respect you standing your ground on that. And I do see, I do partly agree with that particular perspective, that there are these pockets of expansion and growth and development, and then something happens and wipes it out. Because if you really look at where we are right now as humanity, we're in this Goldilocks era where we haven't been destroyed. I remember tracking Apophis, That's a huge comet out there, or asteroid, one of the two. It came in between Earth and the moon back in like 2012. This thing is about the size of Texas. They didn't tell us that it came through until it passed by. But when it passed, it hit a gravitational keyhole. So when it comes back again, Apophis, which is named after one of those ancient gods, it there's a percentage chance in 2036 or something like that that it could hit the Earth. Most likely what it might do, if it's weak enough, it could fracture, and if it fractures, some of it might pellet us. And as the Earth rotates on its axis, it could create fires and all kind of, disasters around the planet within a very short period of time. So we just been so fortunate to be able to escape this. We've been in this window of time where a lot of these things just haven't happened for us. It's like living on the San Andreas fault line for the last 80 years, and it hasn't, slipped yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's overdue.
Yeah, it's scary when you think about it. Like you say, we have really survived. It's overdue. We've survived a really long time, and it's gotten us a long way. And by the same token, we're so. I mean, we are so vulnerable. If they had one of those, the electrical event where they had the storm that from the
coronal mass ejection.
Yeah, but there was a specific name for the one that happened, the one that burned up all the telegram lines and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But at any rate, if something like that happened, we would just be a society. This would be a rough day. We wouldn't have people having our meeting right now, would we?
No, we wouldn't. We would, because a CME of that size would knock everything out. All electronics would be down, and we wouldn't be able to even call for help. We wouldn't be able to get 911 or anything, and we would be so disrupted. What would actually happen is it could start that drop off of that cycle we were talking about. It could get us to go back down towards that Bronze Age again. And then, I have a cell phone, you have a cell phone, but do we know how to make a cell phone? We might have an understanding, but do we have... It took about 1,000 minds to create all the components that work together to make the cell phone system actually run all together, Inventions had to come over time so you can put all the technology together. So, we got enough tech now to make this work. So by the second or third generation, could be back to just localized villages and farming,
Absolutely. I mean, you definitely would take care of what works, right? I mean, a lot of the tech that we use is a lot of the stuff that we do is just superfluous. It's not important. And you get knocked back into the Stone Age a little bit, and boy, oh boy, well, all of a sudden we're going to, don't have time to screw around so much.
Yeah, that's true. With your research, what's one of the most passionate things you like to study, and what have you discovered new about it?
Archaeoastronomy is one thing that I'm really into. Is the idea of the way that humanity looked at the stars a long time ago. That's something that I really enjoy a lot. And one of the things that I discovered new about it as I've done research was that the idea of the Zodiac is, you don't see it in the New World, but you see it so many places in the Old World that it seems like it seems like the thing is goes back to prehistoric times, 10,000, 12,000, 20,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago. I mean, it's then from doing my own, just like going out at night and looking at the sky and thinking about it, and all of a sudden it becomes really obvious. It's like really obvious that like I recently made a video talking about this was the first, in my opinion, this was the first esoteric knowledge that humanity had. This was the first time that we had knowledge that people hid from others, that they knew to be true, but they were anyway. I love that stuff. I could babble about it all day. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and I think when we were talking about the coronal mass ejection, we were talking about the Carrington event.
Yes, the Carrington event. Thank you.
Yeah, the Carrington event, 1859, that knocked out the telegram wires, burned them out from space. Little space storm.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, nowadays, my Atari is the least of the worries at that point. I mean,
Right.
burn everything up, right?
Yeah. Have you studied any of the ancient flood myths around the world?
Yes. Not all of them, obviously, but for example, there was one that's pretty obscure. The Namelap people in South America. The story is pretty cool. This tribe of people have this idol, this big stone idol that was on a boat with them. And they traveled to an area and they looked for a place to build a pyramid to house this big stone idol. So they build the area, they build a pyramid, they put the stone idol in there, and for a few generations everything's chill. Then the great grandson of the guy Namelap who first put the stuff there, he decided he wanted to relocate this idol. So he goes and he's trying to move it. This is where it starts to get interesting, in my opinion. He tries to move it and he can't, right? He doesn't have the ability to move this big rock that grandpa moved. So eventually he's approached by a demon or an evil spirit, and it seduces him, says, if you sleep with me, then I'll help you out. So then it helped him move that idol, but then it created this horrible storm and it flooded the area for over a year and destroyed all the crops. And eventually they took the king guy and they bound his hands and feet, threw him in the water, and that ended the storm.
Wow.
Ended the flood.
Yeah. Ended the flood. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Wow. There's so many of them. I mean, I've heard
so
about
many
maybe 10 or 15 over the last 10 years. And so we know that this flood happened maybe potentially sometimes regionally, sometimes locally, and so maybe a few times globally.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that I completely agree with you. It's something that I know you've heard me say it when we were on the panel together, but for your viewers, you hear it a lot that the skeptics will say that Plato was using Atlantis as an allegory. He didn't believe that it existed. He was purely just a metaphor. And my answer to that is Plato was trying to make a political point. He was trying to convince somebody of something. And so I don't think that he would use, I mean, if I was trying to convince somebody that the West is falling, you don't hear people citing Harry Potter, they cite Rome. Because you're trying, you don't use an example that's fake, you use an example of something that's real. So in my opinion, the fact that he uses Atlantis when he's talking about something that he's trying to convince people on, in my opinion, at the very least, it shows that his contemporaries and him believed it to be true. Yeah,
for sure. Definitely. I agree with you 100% on that. He's definitely him, Herodotus. I mean, they're all really referencing some form of this Atlantean civilization, in my opinion. I don't think they would just sit there and make this stuff up thousands of years ago. These guys didn't seem like they were just laying around with nothing to do and just making up sci-fi movies, in their heads. And going around preaching sci-fi stories, everyone. It didn't seem like it matched the time and era. I mean, people were really serious back then. That was the age of philosophy and, wisdom.
No, you're right. It's the only goofy guy that sat around in the barrel. I can't think of his name, but the one dude that sat around in the barrel all the time and yelled at people and stuff. He was kind of the anti-philosopher, but even he wasn't all science fiction-y. It's gonna drive me up the wall.
That person I haven't heard of. That's a rare one. I haven't heard of that person.
I'll have to look him up real quick here.
That's something. I got to add that to my database, man.
That's funny how that works. You never know. It's like, people. You never know who's going to tell you something that you haven't heard before. Okay,
man, I love it. That's what I love, man. I love hanging around you and all the other guys, man, because and some of the women too that we have in the field, because they, you just never know when you're going to get some knowledge, and then it's something to add to the database, something to look up, something to research. And then, it comes up. It's not that you're copying it, but it will come up in the future. And so things like these are great things for conversation starters and so forth,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't want to spoil it, but I've got a video coming soon about the Baghdad Battery, and it was actually two people, my friend Sean Mooney, and a channel, Project Thunderbolt, that just made a video of it, tagged me in it, and both of those guys, neither one of them do I agree with what they were telling me, but I took both of the information they gave me and inspired me to run down this rabbit hole. So exactly like you said. Oh, by the way, the guy's name is Diogenes of Sinope, was the founder of Cynicism. He believed in living according to nature, discarding all possessions except a cloak, a staff, and a wallet. He lived in a large overturned ceramic barrel. He did all. Yeah, he's the guy that like played with himself when Alexander the Great walked by and stuff. He was
right.
Talk about flirting with disaster.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. You got a death wish if you're doing that for sure.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
God. Wow stuff. No, that's cool. Thank you for that. Yeah,
of course. Thank you for having me on. This is great. I really appreciate this, Billy. It's
man, it's an honor, man. It's an honor. You know, I definitely, I've got some new projects coming up soon, and I'm writing a couple of new docuseries. And it's more of like researching the science. It's not really specifically about talking about Anunnaki or trying to involve sky gods and things. We're trying to find out how in the world did they come up with the knowledge to get this done? And then going back and talking to researchers like yourself, because I want to get your perspective. I want to get Randall's perspective. I may want to get an engineer or a quantum physicist or, an astronomer or an astrophysicist, just to get these alignments and figure out like what mind does it take? How much knowledge and wisdom does it take to interlock all that together and then put it into a structure? And also pick the location for the structure. So that's going to be something huge that I'm working on. And I definitely would love to have you a part of that too.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. That would be awesome. It's quite an honor. I really, really appreciate it a lot. It's, I feel, I felt when we were on the panel together the last time, we're sitting there and I'm looking down this row and it's like everybody on here is pretty much Gaia TV, Ancient Aliens, or both. And it's just like I'm a lot more on the skeptical side of things, but still, like it's awesome. I feel like the honorary black sheep or whatever you want to put it, right? It's
like, hey man, it worked though. I mean, it worked because we have balance, right? So there's balance there, And have you looked into any of the construction techniques that are similar all around the world? Like, what is your theory on that? Like, how they're building similar structures, similar megalithic stones coming together without mortar, but almost the same style of construction globally?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I personally think is one of the signs of evidence for contact between cultures and between continents that isn't accepted by mainstream history. Like that ashlar masonry, I think is there's certain areas where you can see. I mean, Thor Heyerdahl, I'm sure you know who he is. Thor Heyerdahl made the observation from Easter Island and pointed out how the ashlar masonry there, where the Ahu sat on, the Moai sat on, looked like stuff that he saw in Tiwanaku, and that was laughed at, mocked, just openly derided up until, and then last year they had to accept it because the DNA studies proved that not only were the Easter Island people had some DNA from South America, the pre-contact people, not only that, but the oldest habited layer that we find on Easter Island, the oldest settling that we find has both ginger and sweet potato. They had stuff from Asia and South America as soon as they started on that place. And that's huge. And because Thor Heyerdahl was, he faced a lot of undue skepticism over that. And it's one thing for people to be skeptical about this stuff, but it's another thing altogether when they get mean-spirited, and they definitely were mean-spirited to him, and for no reason except for they disagreed with him. And that, honestly, that will never not bug the hell out of me, because that's so, again, that's so religious. That's the kind of, why is a scientist acting like somebody who's been told that their God's wrong? It doesn't make any sense. It
doesn't make any sense. I still, and the thing is, I know that there's an influence behind the scenes, an overall arching influence that wants these agendas and these particular understandings and ideologies to be still locked in. But then you get people that are scientists that are kind of really not overly influenced by that. They just turn their particular sect of science into some type of a dogma, and they're locked in. And when they're locked in, they can become really vicious. I mean, vicious, man. They can, yeah. And I'll never understand it. I'll just never understand that mindset. It's just something that eludes me, you know?
Yep. So I agree. It is hard to understand. I'm lucky in the regards that, lucky serendipitous. However, when I started making videos, throwing rocks at, debunking debunkers, I quickly realized that nobody else was doing that. And a lot of it is because there's so many, the new agey hippie types miss me with that negative energy, bro. Yeah. And I get that. And that's fine. I mean, but I'm a little bit more of the opposite as far as that kind of stuff. If somebody's, I don't want to argue about this stuff, but if somebody's going to make it a big argument, if you're going to take the argument away from big rocks and start calling us names and isms and all that stuff, dude. Yeah, I will. I won't let all the people that want the negative energy to be missed will be fine. I'll just go yell at these guys myself. Right. Some of them need yelled at. I don't know how else to put it. It don't bug me. Yeah.
Listen, you got to have thick skin in this game,
Oh man,
I mean, look, the whole world tried to come after me and take me down, and I'm still here.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I made 10 times. I 10x my content.
Yeah. Yep. The world will try to destroy you, and even little mammals. You get an injured alpha, and they're going to go after you.
Yeah, that's the cycle. Absolutely. And one last question I want to talk to you about the ancient sites. Do you prescribe to any theory or concept dealing with potential frequency, technology, ancient advanced tools that could have helped to shape some of these ancient sites and pyramids?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't think I would say advanced as far as that goes. Okay. But I've got a theory, for example, for the pyramid that I'm hoping to test out this next year. You might be familiar with, there's a plate that's in the Cairo Museum that's looks like a target. There's a bunch of concentric rings, right? Okay. If you took that plate and put it on a staff and a concave mirror, the focal point of that concave mirror with the point where it's a fixture of, it's a function of the size of the sphere that concave mirror would be from. Long story short, the round circle of light would always be the same size at the same distance. You could fill one circle of that target could be 750 feet, and it's one side of the pyramid. Anyway, I'm looking for things like that because as accurate as the pyramid was measured out, there's clear. If you ask any construction guy, he's going to tell you need a transit, you need a laser. So looking for a way for it to be measured with light is where my head's at on that. So long story short, yes, I think they had what we would call technology that would be advanced for their time, but I don't think it would be advanced for us. Okay.
So you mean like they made their own like makeshift sight line, right? So they can track the angles and the distances and the height, or what do you mean?
Like if you take a concave mirror, it can start a fire, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It does that the same way a magnifying glass does. There's a focal point that's like a little round circle of light. Okay. So that focal point is always the same distance. Is always the same size at the same distance.
Gotcha.
So if you took and shot, if you had the light reflecting and you're using that focal point, that round circle of light, and you filled up a target with that, when it filled up one circle completely, then you could say we are X far away. And then you could emulate that over and over again, and that would explain why all four sides are so close to each other, because they were using light to measure instead of ropes.
Gotcha.
I could be wrong. I want to test it out, but those are the kinds of, personally, I want to take all of those kinds of things and exhaust those before I'm ready to take the next step into.
This is why I'm excited about, using you in some of my stuff, because we can get all these different perspectives. The show isn't about dogma. The show isn't about Billy Carson says this way. I'm going to come up with my own ideas and theories, but there could be certain episodes, even different things with cases within an episode where we're doing a CSI investigation on something, and an engineer could say no because this, and this, or you can come up with an idea, an alternative particular concept that could say, hey, and maybe it was this, and Brad Olson can come up with another idea. So it's not just one way, but what it does is just expanding. It's like, wow, there's so many potential concepts that could have done this, and it gets a person, I think, wondering. They're going to be wondering, like, which one is it? Yeah. And we'll have them vote on which one they think it is through like a QR code or something.
That'd be cool. That'd be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be great, man. Yeah. So, do you have any new projects or events or tours coming up?
Yeah, I'm going to be in Sedona, Arizona with you here May 1st through 3rd. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I've got my next video coming out is going to be on the Baghdad Battery, and I've got I hate to say this because I'm slow to make these kinds of claims, but I think that I've got what it was used for, and I think I can prove it. And,
wow, nice.
Oh yeah, okay. I think this might be kind of groundbreaking. I'm kind of excited about this one. It's had me writing script and like doing research. Yeah. You can probably see I'm a little tired because I've just been research. So much fun. But
nice.
Sedona is going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to that. Hanging out with a bunch of the like-minded people, seeing yourself and Jimmy. Hopefully he's going to be there this time. I always like to hang out with him, and it's going to be great to see Robert. Robert's a stud. He's a great guy.
Robert Dakota. I think Randall Carson. Randall Carson's there. Yeah. I don't know if Graham will be there yet. He's still writing his book.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be maybe at the next one. But looking forward to it, brother. It's going to be great. And tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on YouTube, Dedunking. That's like debunking, but with 2 D's, like my ex. But it's DEDUNKING. But you can find me on Twitter at Dedunking the Past. You can find me on Instagram. All my links basically are on YouTube for the most part. It's where I do my stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, I really appreciate, really appreciate this, Billy. Thank you so much. It's always good to talk to you, man.
Yes, sir, brother. Yes, sir. It's an honor, man. I'm glad to have you on. Glad to get different perspectives and understandings, so people can see that there are other ways to think about things, and I am an open person. I am open to all different forms of concepts, theories, conspiracies, non-conspiracy, and we all draw from one another. And I think it's really important for the world to see a conversation like ours.
That's right.
You're white, I'm black. I'm an Anunnaki believer. You're not so much.
Yep.
We still research ancient civilizations. We can still find some common ground. We can still respect one another.
That's exactly it. Yep.
And we can collaborate.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the diversity of idea is strength, as long as we don't make it a fighting point, as long as we don't turn it into a sticking point. If you got 50 people looking at the same problem, but they've all have the same, they're all afraid to give any answer except for the one, you're never going to get the answer, right?
Exactly.
You need to have that diversity. And so I really appreciate you having me on here, man. This has been great. I can't wait to see you, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. A few more months, we'll be there.
Yes, sir.
Before history, stones touch the sky. Gold age buried when the old world died. Maps erased, truth fell through time. Fire from heaven, flood rewrote minds. Cities gone, but the stars still speak. What we forgot wasn't meant to sleep. Before history.